For 17,000 cycles, the Dominion had maintained perfect order across the galaxy. Their crystalline ships drifted between star systems like silent judges, enforcing the ancient laws that kept younger species in their designated places. The hierarchy was absolute, unchanging, and divine in its precision. Commander Zethka of the 4th Enforcement Fleet gazed through the viewport at the small blue world below. Terra, the humans called it. Another primitive species to be cataloged, contained, and controlled. Their technology barely qualified them for basic spaceflight, crude chemical rockets, and primitive fusion drives. They would be easy to manage. Begin standard containment protocol, Zethka commanded, his crystalline form resonating with authority. Establish the barrier fields at the edge of their system. No unauthorized vessels are to leave. The Dominion had perfected this process millennia ago. Young civilizations were allowed to develop within their home systems, carefully monitored and subtly guided. When they showed signs of becoming troublesome, gentle nudges kept them focused on internal conflicts rather than expansion. It was elegant, efficient, and had never failed. But Zethka had underestimated something fundamental about humans: their absolute refusal to accept limitations. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ESS Defiance, humanity's first true interstellar vessel. The ship was a patchwork of human ingenuity: fusion drives married to experimental quantum cores, armor plating welded over civilian hull sections, and weapon systems that had no business working together but somehow did. "Ma'am, we're detecting massive energy signatures at the system's edge," reported Lieutenant Torres from the sensor station. "It's like a wall. Something's blocking our path to Alpha Centauri." Sarah's jaw tightened. For 3 years, every human expedition beyond the outer planets had simply vanished. No distress signals, no debris, nothing. Now they knew why. "Analysis, Dr. Kim?" The elderly physicist looked up from his console, his weathered face grim. "It's definitely artificial, Captain. The energy patterns suggest some form of interdimensional barrier. Whoever built this is operating on technology levels we can barely comprehend." As if summoned by their discovery, space itself seemed to ripple. A vessel materialized, sleek, crystalline, and radiating an aura of ancient power. It dwarfed the Defiance, a cathedral of technology that had been perfected when Earth's continents were still forming. The communication came not through radio waves but directly into their minds. A voice like distant thunder speaking in perfect English. "Primitive creatures of Terra. I am Commander Zethka of the Dominion 4th Fleet. You have reached the boundary of your designated space. Return to your world and continue your development within approved parameters. This is not a request." Sarah felt the weight of that voice, the absolute certainty of cosmic authority. She had read about this feeling in historical accounts, the way subjects felt when addressed by kings who claimed divine right. But Sarah Chen had grown up in a democracy, where authority had to be earned, not simply declared. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Space Service," she replied aloud, knowing somehow that the alien would hear her. "I don't recognize your authority over human space or human choices. We'll go where we damn well please." The silence that followed stretched for long seconds. Then, incredibly, Zethka's mental voice carried what could only be described as amusement. "You are remarkably bold for such a short-lived species. Very well. Witness the fate of those who defy the natural order." The crystalline ship's weapons charged with the light of captured stars, energy lances that could crack planets focused on the tiny human vessel. This was how it always ended: a brief display of power, the immediate surrender of the younger species, and a return to proper order. The first barrage should have atomized the Defiance. Instead, the human ship's shields flared with impossible resilience, absorbing and redirecting the energy in ways that violated several fundamental laws of physics. "Shields holding at 80%, Torres reported with barely controlled excitement. "Whatever the doc did to our quantum field generators, it's working." Dr. Kim grinned like a mad scientist. "I told you, Captain. Human stubbornness isn't just psychological. It's apparently a fundamental force of nature. We've been unconsciously manipulating quantum probability fields through sheer bloody-mindedness for decades." Sarah didn't pretend to understand the science, but she understood opportunity. "Return fire! All batteries." The Defiance unleashed everything it had: fusion torpedoes, railgun rounds, and experimental plasma cannons. None of it should have troubled a Dominion vessel. But human weapons carried something the galaxy had forgotten: the absolute conviction that any problem could be solved with enough firepower and creative thinking. Zethka felt his ship's shields fluctuate for the first time in 3 centuries. Impossible. The humans' weapons were primitive, crude, barely more sophisticated than thrown rocks. Yet somehow they were working. "Commander," his tactical officer reported with crystalline confusion. "Their weapons are operating beyond their theoretical capabilities. They're achieving destructive yields that should require technology we haven't shared with any species." "Analysis? Unknown, sir. It's as if their determination to succeed is somehow rewriting local physics." Zethka stared at the human vessel as it maneuvered with impossible precision, its crew somehow anticipating attacks that should have been mathematically unpredictable. For the first time in 17 millennia, he felt something the Dominion had bred out of themselves eons ago: uncertainty. The battle raged for hours. More Dominion ships arrived, expecting to find debris and a valuable lesson for any other upstart species. Instead, they found their commander locked in combat with humans who refused to acknowledge that they should have been dead a dozen times over. And slowly, impossibly, the humans were winning. Sarah watched another crystalline ship lose power and drift away, its perfect hull scarred by human weapons that had no right to work. Around them, the barrier that had caged humanity for 3 years was flickering, failing as the Dominion's focus shifted to this incomprehensible threat. "Captain," Dr. Kim said quietly, "I'm reading quantum cascade failures throughout their containment system. Whatever they use to keep us locked in, it's collapsing." "Then we finish this," Sarah replied. She opened a channel to every human ship and station in the system. "All vessels, this is the Defiance. The barrier is down. The galaxy is open, and we're going to make sure it stays that way." Commander Zethka felt the chains of galactic order snap one by one as human ships poured through the failing barriers. For 17,000 cycles, the Dominion had maintained perfect control through overwhelming power and unquestionable authority. They had never encountered a species that simply didn't care about the odds. As the Defiance accelerated toward open space, leaving a trail of disabled Dominion vessels in its wake, Sarah Chen smiled. Humanity had always been good at breaking chains, whether they were made of iron, law, or ancient cosmic authority. The galaxy had been static for far too long. It was time for some chaos. The cycle was shattered. The age of human expansion had begun,